good afternoon, or good morning, everyone. Everyone hear me okay? Zendo? Yes, perfect. I'm so glad that we've chosen today to come together in this way and give ourselves a nice dose of silence, allowing things to be as they are, letting go of our planning, regretting, worrying, minds, setting those down for a bit and just settling into things as they actually are in this moment. It's easy to get pulled away from the present moment. I think it's far too easy, of late for me at least. And when we are pulled away, we miss the intricate details of this moment, the light traveling across the room and the sound of the birds outside the Zendo. We miss it. My name is Joan, and I use he, him pronouns, and I'm really glad to be sitting with you all today. It's really nice to see everyone here. Let me fix my view. It defaults back to me looking at me. Let me look at me and you and me. There we are. So lately, as I was saying, it's been particularly easy to get pulled out of the present moment for me because of really all the distressing news that we've been facing of late. I suppose it's true that that could be any moment that we're facing distressing news, but I find myself doom scrolling, if you will, even when my phone isn't in my hand. Doom scrolling in my mind, thinking about, rising wastewater rates of COVID, and monkeypox making a return, and the reproductive rights and care for trans and non-binary people laws being implemented that are limiting those rights for people. Of course, most recently, this apocalyptic smoke that is blown out of Canada that finally today is a bit better here in New Paltz, where I sit with our Sangha here, a small affiliate of VZ. And recognizing that the smoke, I made it. I created that. I'm not separate from it. That's me that made this happen. So a monk asked Dasui, when the fire at the end of an eon rages through the whole universe and the whole universe is destroyed, is this destroyed or not? And Dasui said, destroyed, without hesitation, destroyed. And the monk asked, then this goes along with it? And Dasui said, yes, it goes along with it. And then a monk, maybe another monk, maybe the same monk, asked Longji, when the fire ending the aeon rages through the whole and the whole universe is destroyed, is this destroyed or not? And Longji said, not destroyed. And the monk asked, why is it not destroyed? And Longji said, because it is the same as the universe. So I have to tip my hat to Philip, who on the IO list offered a poem related to this koan that was beautiful, and he offers many beautiful poems. So if you're not part of our list, get on it so you can partake. And so many of our Sangha members' offerings that they put on the IO list. And so Philip mentioned this, and of course it felt appropriate to bring it up in a talk. So last Saturday, I returned from Boston. I was there for a 4-day conference for the American College Health Association, the ACHA. It's a couple thousand doctors and nurses, NPs, DOs. Oh, my internet is unstable. Uh-oh, I hope it holds out for me. Gather together in Boston or wherever the conference is being held, and they discuss healthcare strategies, struggles they're facing in college health. And there's always a theme. And this year, the theme of the conference was Culture of Care Revolution, Together We Thrive. So while the conference was perhaps not revolutionary in itself, it did highlight the admirable efforts of the American College Health Association in looking at how we can thrive in the medical community, and how to thrive really takes a concerted group effort. We have to come together um, to make our offerings really be substantial and of merit to those we are making the offering to. So many of the lectures and things that were offered by different doctors and nurses, and there were countless ones throughout the day, really focused on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so often we hear that as kind of a catchphrase in our work environments, do the quick PowerPoint training online, so that you can be diverse and equitable and inclusive in your work. But this was really taking a deep dive looking at it. So many of the rooms were really talking about inclusion, representation, validation, and ultimately safety because of those things. And in the hotel lobby, outside of the lecture rooms, there'd often be cookies and coffee. Maybe this is why I like these conferences so much. They probably sway me with the swag and the continental breakfast. But that said, there would be those casual conversations that happened amongst the staff that I work with, as well as providers and nurses from other colleges. And again, the refrain that I heard and I said, and we often said, was, we're just not staffed for that. That again and again, that came up. So mental health was really the crux of the conference. A lot of what we were looking at, we had to acknowledge, 3 odd years of COVID and what that had done to the college campus. These years that are supposed to be formative, exploratory, and socializing times for emerging adults to figure out who they are, became times laced with anxiety and fear and lockdown, and just the exact opposite of what one would expect in someone in their 17, 18, 19-year-olds need to have happen. I'm not saying that it wasn't difficult for all age ranges, but I think there's a specific loss that happened to emerging adults at a time when they really needed that socialization. So over and over again in the conference, they referred again and again, all different providers and people coming from mental health, coming from physical health, from recreational, health, all of that in the conference again and again. They brought up the gold standard of the PHQ-2. It's a quick, down and dirty mental health evaluation. Those of you in college health, I saw a couple of smiles, probably know what it is. Hopefully, even in your own doctor's office, this has been given to you, because it really is the gold standard of looking at where are you at in your mental health right now exactly, but they're examining, are you depressed? Are you anxious in this moment? If you score higher, a 3 or higher, it really merits follow-up, and hopefully follow-up in the moment, that someone goes, ooh, I see you scored a 3 on this. Let's talk briefly about your feeling state. What's happening for you? Let's keep you safe. So during the conference, we'd often get to go out. Another reason I like the conference, you get to use the college credit card. So we'd go out to dinner as a group, of nurses and doctors and nurse practitioners, and we talk about the different things we saw during the day, offer ideas for improvement for the clinic going forward, things that we thought were maybe long-term goals, and things that we thought were, pretty fixable in the moment. So this seemed like really low-hanging fruit to me. I thought, wow, we can implement this, no problem. We just get a button on the computer, when kids are uploading their immunization records, we've got that in real time, we can address it. This seems pretty easy. And all my coworkers were like, yeah, we got to do this. This is we can accomplish nothing if we don't address mental health. We really got nothing to do if we don't do this. And my boss, over some oysters, said, no, we can't do this. I brought it up with the administration. We know it's the gold standard. We want to do it, but we know there'll be too many threes. There'll be a lot of fours, fives, higher scores. If we open up this can of worms, we're understaffed. We just don't have the team to put out this fire, to address this fire. And I thought about a container of cream cheese in my refrigerator, one that had been there for quite some time. I didn't want to take the lid off of it because I was pretty sure it was moldy. My husband was probably doing the same thing. And it didn't get addressed until I opened the refrigerator and it smelled. And I went, oh, got moldy cream cheese in the fridge. And then I threw it out. So while this isn't a great analogy, how often do we wait in medicine and in other aspects of our life until it's moldy and it smells before we can look at it, and put that fire out? Maybe we need to do fire prevention as opposed to extinguishing. So some institutions that are well-funded and larger are embedding mental health providers right within the health services office. Maybe this is the revolutionary part of it. It doesn't seem so crazy a thought, and yet so many institutions have something, that says wellness center, but it's, just health services, and counseling is somewhere else. It's a separate thing. But if they were to reside under the same roof, wouldn't that serve the needs of our students? And if we were able to screen them for depression and anxiety, and they scored on that, we could do further screening, and we could move them over to a counselor who is waiting to see them and speak to them so that they felt safe and they felt taken care of, so that in the future, when they faced a new issue, maybe separate from that, they already felt safe in that environment, and we could continue, with a continuity of care for them. In larger universities where there's med schools and social work schools, this model's already working. Dare I even say the words socialized? But it's a model that works. Everything's being met right there for your student fee, and it's effective and cost effective. And I just think, how often do we hesitate to remove the lid from the cream cheese? And what happens when we do that, when we don't look? So in conversation with another nurse practitioner over some coffee and cookies, they related that they felt this isn't just a college problem. This is a much bigger problem. And I had that aha moment where I said, yep, when I saw my doctor, I never received a PHQ-2. I never filled that out. There was never a question in his office about, how are you feeling? These past years have been very difficult. Are you coping well? Do you feel like you have the wherewithal to meet life day after day, meet the moment after moment? Is that possible for you? That conversation never happened. And I like my doctor. I think he's a good doctor. So how many of us are not having that need met? And then perhaps it's even further complicated, as I had the opportunity to talk with practitioners from Florida and from Texas and from states where comprehensive care, the way we know it, is not possible. When the state is ruling against providing care for people who are trans or non-binary, or providing reproductive health to folks who have uteruses, not allowing that to happen. So within the text of the koan Dasui's Ionic Fire, it brings up a quote from a text that I'm not familiar with, so Roshi, you'll have to tell me later. Cessation and contemplation. I did some hunting, but I couldn't find out what this text is exactly. But at any rate, it's quoted within this koan. And the quote is this: Arhats are compared to charcoal, Prechaka Buddhas to ashes, these are self-realized beings, to ashes. Bodhisattvas are a little leftover ash, and Buddhas are compared to an ionic fire. They leave no trace behind, no charcoal or ash left in their actions. So maybe we can, see that our inclination to see things as burned or not burned, consumed or not consumed, are just constructs. And when we recognize they're just constructs, I think that frees us up a little bit. And while the air today is clearer than it was 2 days ago, and seems to be getting clearer with each passing hour, I'm reminded of another Dogen quote, and that is, "Firewood becomes ash and does not return to its original form." We must understand that firewood and ash, with their before and their after, are ultimately free from these distinctions of before and after. So fully immersing ourselves in each moment and offering ourselves as fuel to each moment can feel daunting, especially when we're coming from a place or a feeling of scarcity, or a place where we feel like we just don't have the fuel to offer the situation. And in those moments, can we become fully engulfed? Can we become engulfed in the needs of the perceived other, leaving no trace of ourselves? Is that possible? And while I feel under-resourced in my small college institution that doesn't have a med school and a social work school with countless residents and therapists in training at the ready to meet the students I work with needs, and while I feel under-resourced to take care of this planet that is in flames, I can still recognize the importance of organizing, protesting, writing, meeting, the needs in a direct way. I can still be responsive, even when I feel under-resourced. There's always something to be offered as fuel. However, I think some of the most significant impacts are not those big, sign holding, marching in the streets, although very, very, very important. But they're the small acts when we offer ourselves fully, like greeting a patient with, "Hi, my name's Alan, I use he, him pronouns," and making them feel seen, comfortable to be fully themselves. No offering of gender affirming medication. We're not there yet. We want to be there. But right now I can give you a train ticket to Callan Lord, get you to the city and get your care started there. We're hoping to soon be doing that. But it doesn't mean that I can't offer fuel just because I'm under-resourced. "Hi, my name's Alan. I use he, him pronouns. If you'd like to tell me your pronouns, I can update your chart so that the present." Is a name written here? Is that the name you choose to use, or do you have a name you would prefer that we call you when you come into the clinic? Fully engulfed. Burned up. So when we realize the absence of beginning and end, just as the monk asked, does this go too? Does this go too? When we realize that construct, I think then we can be of service. When we see the inherent unity of all things, we have no choice but to serve, to offer ourselves up completely as the fuel. We go along with it. We go along with it. So I think fire has a couple of different things it does. Obviously, it's destructive, but it also has got creative and nourishing forces. Some scrambled eggs take a fire to be made. So can we see the creative potential and embrace that? see the impermanence of all things, and know that our actions are important. You know, it's not a kicking back and letting things be as they are. You know, it's engaged. We have to meet it where it is and be fully consumed by the fire to be of service. And I'm going to leave you with a poem by Basho that I found, that short little haiku that is resonant for me as I often, if I'm perseverating and doing the proverbial doom scrolling, something has to take me back. On Thursday, Ryotan Roshi in his talk talked about the skandhas and how they, the five skandhas, the five heaps. Sometimes they can feel like heaps, these piles of things that pull us out of the moment, pull us away. But they're also, as he mentioned, where we reside, where we live, and they are our very path to enlightenment, our very path to service. So I was walking home the other day on Church Street here in New Paltz, and the honeysuckle had come into bloom, and suddenly I was hit as I was in my mind thinking about all the things that have to happen by this scent, and it brought me right back, right back to where my feet were. And so I'll leave you with this poem by Basho. Temple bells die out. The fragrant blossoms remain. A perfect evening.